Shalom Yasharala. First and foremost, I want to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the house of David. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and righteousness and sincerity to you Israelite foreigners. Come back home to the truth, to those that passed on serving the Lord, the dead in Yahweh Shai Shalaraz verse. To you sisters who believe, keep encouraging and supporting your brothers out here teaching this truth, and always commemorate the sister who washed Yahweh Shai feet when you read the scriptures. I want to talk about something. Y'all know me that I'm always big on the topic of so-called Black and Latino unity, right? And I thought of something the other day. I thought about how so-called so-called mixed children seem to be more comfortable when the mix is Black and Latino. Like children that are so-called half Black, half Hispanic don't have as much explaining that they feel they need to do. Like, I'm gonna give a perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? There's a rapper that is so-called half Black, half white by the name of Drug Rich Heck. Basically, his name, I've never seen an explanation of where his name comes from, but I'm pretty sure he's trying to. It's a play on words on Hector, the name Hector, a so-called Hispanic name. And the guy looks Hispanic, but, you know, he said that, he said out his own mouth he's so-called biracial. And he wants you to know he's not Hispanic. But he takes on a name, his rap name is basically, like I said, it comes from a Hispanic name. I never heard him explain it this way, but what else could the combination of HECT come from, right? Drug Rich Heck. You know, so every time, almost every mixed race person that I know that's mixed with white, a profound white mix. So in other words, like the mother's full white or the father's full white, and then the other parent is Black. There's always like an uncomfortable kind of like an air to that mixture, where if somebody is generally Black and Latino, like I said, they're usually able to be super comfortable, and there's no hesitation, there's no need to tell the story of how that came to be. Like it's just, yo, I'm Black, you know, my father Black, my mother Puerto Rican, like Nori, right? Nori mother's so-called Black, his father's a so-called Puerto Rican, Noriega, the rapper. You know, he doesn't, I've never heard him feel like he has to explain anything about it. It is what it is. Like, he put that out there in his music. You know, y'all remember when he made up an impossible mathematic problem where he said he's half this, half that, and half something else. You know, 3 halves don't fit into one. But, you know, but the seriousness of it is, children that grow up biracial, so-called biracial, in this society that one of the races is white, and I'm just using this world's terminologies, they seem to be uncomfortable or go through an identity crisis. Like that's a real, like that seems to be a real thing. I'm saying seems to because I'm speaking on observation, not historical facts. But when I see somebody talk about their racial identity and they're half Black, half white, it seems like they basically, those two sides are in such opposition to one another. This is where I'm going with it. Those two sides of a person seem to be in opposition to one another. Now, we as Israelites, we know that it's what the Father is no matter what. But people that are in the world, this is something that affects people that are not in the truth, obviously. So that kind of goes to show you who black people's family is, honestly. Does anybody consider somebody less black if their father or mother is Hispanic and the other one's black? I've only ever seen it come into question when one of the parents is white. That's it. You know, like, there's this movie called The Blackening, and they kind of discuss that, and it's just weird. You know, it's a chick who's biracial, so-called, you know, and it just, I don't know, it just sounds to me, and this is just observation, not historical data, it just appears that they're not children that are so-called half black and half white are not as comfortable as black and Hispanic. Even other Gentiles, like, it's funny, like, you know what I'm saying? If somebody was black and African, black American and African, they're not as uncomfortable. You know, it's only when you mix Esau seed in it. You know, once you get to the white, you know, half black, half white, that's when people start questioning. You know, like if Ricky Martin was to not be gay and had a child with a black woman, that child would be confident saying, I'm black. But the children, but if he had a child with a white woman, or if a black man had a child with a white woman, that child would likely go through a period of, what am I? Am I black or white? You know, so it's interesting. It's interesting because it's not something that anybody I've ever seen talk about it. But it's got to be a real thing because, like I said, you know, all of y'all that have friends that are half black and half something else, pay attention to how comfortable they are when they talk about it. As opposed to, you know, like I said, man, you know, the ones that you would say are half-breeds, even though there's no such thing as a half-breed. But the so-called half-breeds, imagine like how, you know, again, how uncomfortable. Look at how, now don't imagine, observe how they are when they talk about it. Like, it's almost like half black, half white kids, so-called half black, half white kids feel like they have to apologize. You know, when they talk about their heritage and who they are, because they're like, damn, half of my heritage in their mind is the colonizer and the other half is the colonized. We don't get that with Hispanics. So even when you got people saying Hispanics are not our people, you know, whatever people, but they never seem to question the blackness of a person that's half black and half Hispanic, so-called. I shouldn't have to keep fucking saying so-called. Y'all should know what the fuck I mean. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. But, you know, I just wanted to shed a little bit of light on that because it's further showing you that we are one people, black and Hispanic people and Native American people. You don't see that comfort when the children are something. Yeah, Chinese too, though. Chinese people that are so-called half Chinese and half something else, they also do have a little bit of guilt too, because the Chinese people are basically becoming the white people of the Caribbean. They're oppressing, you know, blood-born, what do you call it? Native West Indians. Just like Indians. East Indians are out there, you know, oppressing Benjamin, right? So when you got a mixture of them, you call them a coolie. You know, so it's the same type of concept. You got a nigga who father East Indian or mother is East Indian, they call them coolies. You know, but anyway, with that, I'm I'm going to say shalom.